In a distant galaxy, far beyond the reach of Earth's last explorers, an advanced alien research vessel, the Eclipse, drifted through the silent void of space. The crew of the Eclipse was dedicated to exploring ancient civilizations long lost to the cosmos. Their mission, to uncover the mysteries of the universe's forgotten worlds. On this particular mission, the Eclipse crew was focused on the Earth system, a place thought to be dead and abandoned for 500,000 years. Records showed that humanity, a once powerful species, had vanished mysteriously, leaving only whispers and speculation behind. Many believed the Earth system to be a barren wasteland, unworthy of further investigation. But Dr. Lyra, the chief archaeologist aboard the Eclipse, had a hunch. She had studied the ancient records and found inconsistencies. Something didn't add up. The data suggested there might be something hidden, something that had been overlooked. As the Eclipse approached the outer edges of the solar system, the crew scanned the area with their advanced sensors. They expected to find nothing more than cosmic debris and distant asteroids. Instead, their screens flickered with an unusual reading. A faint signal, almost imperceptible, was coming from the edge of the solar system. A signal that seemed to be repeating in a regular pattern. The crew gathered around the control center, their curiosity piqued. Captain Zorak, a grizzled veteran of many space missions, stared at the readings in disbelief. "This signal? It's not natural," he said, his voice low and filled with awe. "It's structured. It's coming from within the system." Dr. Lyra's eyes sparkled with excitement. Could it be a remnant of humanity, something they left behind? With careful precision, the crew of the Eclipse adjusted their course towards the source of the signal. As they approached, the signal grew stronger, and the crew's instruments began to pick up more detailed readings. What they saw next took their breath away. Hidden in the far reaches of the solar system, obscured by the dense asteroid belt and ancient space debris, was an enormous fleet of spacecraft. The ships were unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Massive, sleek, and seemingly untouched by time. They appeared to be in pristine condition, as if they had just been parked there and left. The discovery was astounding. These ships were part of humanity's last defense, a fleet designed to protect Earth from a threat that never came. Dr. Lyra and her team examined the designs and realized the technology was incredibly advanced, far beyond anything the aliens had previously encountered. The Eclipse crew tried to get closer, their instruments scanning the fleet. Suddenly, an old distress beacon on one of the ships activated, sending a signal across the void of space. The crew watched in astonishment as the fleet's AI systems began to stir, coming online for the first time in eons. Captain Zorak's face turned pale. "This is incredible. The fleet is reacting to our presence." Dr. Lyra nodded, her excitement tempered with caution. "We need to be careful. If this fleet was meant to be Earth's last line of defense, it might still have defensive protocols in place." As the Eclipse hovered near the fleet, the once silent void of space now buzzed with activity. The ancient ships slowly began to wake, their dormant systems coming back to life. The crew knew they were on the brink of uncovering one of the greatest secrets of the galaxy. The beacon's signal continued to pulse, and the alien researchers wondered what secrets and dangers this hidden fleet might hold. Little did they know, their discovery would set off a chain of events that would forever alter their understanding of the universe. The Eclipse drifted silently in the cold emptiness of space, its crew mesmerized by the ancient fleet that loomed before them. The sight was both breathtaking and intimidating, a fleet of colossal human warships, dormant for 500,000 years, now stirring to life. Dr. Lyra and her team worked feverishly at their consoles, trying to decode the signals sent by the ancient fleet's distress beacon. The beacon had awakened the fleet's AI, which was now slowly reactivating its systems. The massive ships, each more impressive than the last, began to glow with a faint blue light as their power cores started to hum back to life. Captain Zorak, standing beside Dr. Lyra, watched the scene unfold with a mixture of wonder and concern. "This is beyond anything we've seen," he said, his voice filled with awe. "These ships are incredibly advanced. Their technology is like nothing we have." Dr. Lyra nodded, her fingers dancing over the control panel. "The AI is initializing. We need to be ready. These systems were designed for defense. If they detect us as a threat, they could react aggressively. As the fleet's systems fully powered up, the ship's exterior lights brightened, and their massive engines began to hum with barely contained energy. The once silent vessels now emitted a low, rhythmic thrum that resonated through the void of space. The Eclipse crew was not the only one observing these changes. The human fleet's AI, still bound by its ancient directives, started a series of diagnostic checks. It scanned its surroundings, gathering data on the alien ship now hovering near it. The AI's algorithms, though old, were sophisticated and highly accurate. Without warning, the fleet's weapon systems powered up, their defensive shields shimmering with a soft blue glow. The Eclipse crew watched in mounting anxiety as turrets and energy cannons emerged from the ships, tracking their vessel's position. Dr. Lyra's heart raced. They're detecting us. We need to communicate with them before things escalate. Captain Zorak nodded, his face grim. Prepare a communication protocol. Let's see if we can establish contact before they decide to engage. The alien team worked quickly, sending a series of carefully crafted messages to the fleet's AI. The messages were simple and clear, explaining that they were peaceful explorers and not a threat. They hoped to learn from the ancient technology and history of the fleet. The AI's response came almost immediately. A series of holographic projections flickered into existence around the Eclipse, displaying complex symbols and ancient language. The crew struggled to interpret the messages, which seemed to be a mixture of caution and curiosity. Dr. Lyra attempted to bridge the communication gap. We need to show them that we mean no harm. Let's use the Universal Translator to help with this. As the Universal Translator began to work, the messages became clearer. The AI's voice, though mechanical, was calm and deliberate. This fleet was designed to protect Earth from an external threat. Identify yourselves and state your intentions. Failure to comply will result in defensive measures. The crew of the Eclipse breathed a sigh of relief. They had managed to avoid immediate conflict, but the situation was still delicate. The human fleet's AI was powerful and wary. Any wrong move could provoke a hostile response. Dr. Lyra addressed the crew, her voice steady. We need to proceed carefully. Our goal is to learn from this fleet, not to provoke it. Let's continue with the communication and see if we can establish a more stable dialogue. The Eclipse hovered in space, surrounded by the reawakening fleet. As the human ships continued their diagnostic processes, the aliens braced themselves for what might come next. The ancient fleet was now fully awake, and the interactions between the two parties could determine the future of their relationship. The tension aboard the Eclipse was palpable as the crew faced their most critical moment yet. The ancient human fleet had awakened, and its defensive systems were fully operational. The once silent warships now hummed with life, their weapon systems tracking the alien vessel with a precise, unnerving accuracy. Dr. Lyra and her team worked tirelessly to establish a stable communication link with the fleet's AI. The holographic messages from earlier had been cryptic and full of complex symbols, but now they had to get through to the fleet in a way that would convey peace and understanding. Captain Zorak, his eyes fixed on the glowing screens, issued orders. Prepare the Universal Translator for another attempt. We need to ensure that our messages are clear and non-threatening. The alien engineers made adjustments to the translation equipment, hoping to bridge the gap between their technology and the ancient human systems. The atmosphere on the bridge was thick with anticipation as they sent a new set of messages. This time, they included visual signals, simple images depicting peaceful intentions and their purpose of exploration. As the signals were transmitted, the fleet's AI processed the incoming data with a series of bright, swirling holograms. The alien crew watched, holding their breath. The human AI was sophisticated, and its reactions were swift. The holograms shifted and changed, reflecting the AI's deep analysis of the messages. After what felt like an eternity, a voice crackled through the communication channels. It was metallic and resonant, with an authority that hinted at the AI's long history. This is the command AI of the Earth Defense Fleet. Identify yourselves and state your intentions. You have triggered our alert protocols. Failure to provide sufficient explanation will result in engagement. Dr. Lyra stepped forward, her heart pounding. She spoke clearly and calmly, hoping to ease the tension. We are explorers from the galaxy. We discovered your fleet by chance and wish to learn about your history and technology. We mean no harm and seek only knowledge. There was a brief pause as the human AI processed the new information. The alien crew observed the data streams and holographic displays, noting that the fleet's weapon systems remained in a defensive but non-aggressive state. The response came through, less hostile than before. Your intentions have been noted. The Earth Defense Fleet was designed to protect against a significant threat. We were programmed to guard Earth and its assets. Explain why you have come to this system. Dr. Lyra quickly responded, We come from a distant part of the galaxy. Our mission is to explore ancient civilizations and learn from their technological advancements. We have no knowledge of the threat you were guarding against, but we respect your purpose and wish to understand it. The human AI seemed to contemplate her words. After a moment, the holograms shifted to display a new set of images of Earth's past, of bustling cities, and of the fleet in its prime. The data told a story of a once thriving civilization that had vanished under mysterious circumstances. Captain Zorak watched with growing interest. It looks like they're showing us their history. This could be the key to understanding what happened here. Dr. Lyra nodded. Yes, and it might help us establish a more cooperative relationship. We need to learn from their past to move forward. As the human AI continued to share information, the Eclipse crew began to piece together the story of Earth's defense and its sudden disappearance. The first contact was still delicate, but it was progressing. The ancient fleet, once a source of potential conflict, was now becoming a bridge to the past. The Eclipse hovered in space, surrounded by the ancient fleet, as the crew worked to build trust and understanding. The future of their interaction with the human fleet was uncertain, but the path to cooperation was beginning to take shape. The crew of the Eclipse was deep into their exploration of the ancient human fleet. The giant warships floated silently in space, their advanced systems now fully operational. The crew had managed to establish a tentative peace with the fleet's AI, which was slowly revealing the story of Earth's long-lost history. Dr. Lyra, with her team, was busy analyzing the data streams coming from the fleet. The holograms displayed vivid images of Earth's past, cities bustling with life, technological marvels, and a fleet of powerful warships that once patrolled the solar system. The more they uncovered, the more they realized the significance of what they had found. Captain Zorak walked over to the central console, where Dr. Lyra was intently studying the holographic displays. "What have we learned so far?" he asked, his voice tinged with curiosity and concern. Dr. Lyra looked up, her face illuminated by the glow of the holograms. "We're getting a clearer picture of what happened. It seems Earth was a thriving world, full of advanced technology and a powerful defense fleet. But something went terribly wrong." She pointed to a series of images showing large-scale destruction. Cities were in ruins, and the once mighty fleet appeared to be engaged in a desperate battle. According to the data, Earth faced a catastrophic threat. The fleet was mobilized to protect the planet, but it seems the situation was dire. The threat was so severe that humanity decided to go into hiding, leaving these ships behind as a last line of defense. Captain Zorak frowned, his mind racing. What kind of threat could have been so great that they would abandon their home world? Dr. Lyra shook her head. The details are sparse. The fleet's AI hasn't provided much information about the nature of the threat. However, it's clear that humanity was forced to make a difficult decision. They left these ships here hoping that if the threat ever returned, the fleet would be ready. As they continued to explore the data, they found records of communication logs from the fleet's commanders. The logs were filled with urgent messages and strategic plans, showing a civilization on the brink of collapse. One log, in particular, stood out. It was a final message sent from Earth, revealing the desperation of humanity's last moments. The message was fragmented but poignant. "We are evacuating. Earth is no longer safe. The fleet is on high alert. Defend Earth. We may never return." Dr. Lyra's eyes widened as she read the message. This confirms it. Humanity didn't just vanish, they left with a purpose. They intended for this fleet to stand guard until it was safe to return or until the threat was dealt with. Captain Zorak nodded. "And now, 500,000 years later, we've stumbled upon their final legacy. The question is, what happens now? The fleet's AI is still actively monitoring for threats. What if the danger they feared is still out there?" The crew worked through the night, piecing together the lost history of Earth. They found blueprints for advanced technologies, detailed strategies for defense, and even personal logs from the fleet's crew. Each new discovery added to the mystery of what had happened to humanity and why they had disappeared. As dawn approached, the Eclipse crew felt a mixture of awe and unease. They had uncovered a significant part of Earth's lost history, but many questions remained unanswered. The ancient fleet's presence was both a marvel and a warning. The past was revealing its secrets, but the future held uncertainties that the crew of the Eclipse would have to face. The Eclipse floated amidst the silent warships, the lost history of humanity unfolding before them. The crew knew that their journey was far from over. The truth about Earth's fate was still out there, and they were determined to uncover it. The Eclipse crew was absorbed in their investigation of the ancient human fleet, their excitement tinged with unease. The more they uncovered about Earth's past, the more they realized the gravity of the situation. They had discovered Earth's defense fleet, but they were still missing a crucial piece of the puzzle, the nature of the threat that had driven humanity to vanish. Dr. Lyra and her team were deep in the heart of the command center of the fleet's AI. Holograms flickered with images of ancient Earth, revealing the once thriving civilization now reduced to ruins. The AI had been cooperative so far, but its information was incomplete. The crew needed more details about the threat that had loomed over Earth. Captain Zorak paced the bridge, his face set in thought. We've seen the damage, the desperate evacuation, but we still don't know what caused it. We need to dig deeper. Dr. Lyra nodded, her fingers tapping rapidly on the control panel. We've been examining the fleet's logs and communications. There might be encrypted files or hidden messages that could reveal more about the threat. The crew worked tirelessly, running decryption algorithms and analyzing the data. Late into the night, they discovered a series of encrypted files that had been flagged as highly classified. The encryption was complex, but Dr. Lyra's team managed to crack it. What they uncovered next was both fascinating and alarming. The decrypted files contained detailed reports on an ancient alien species known as the Sithar. According to the records, the Sithar were a ruthless and highly advanced race with a reputation for conquest and destruction. They had a history of attacking and wiping out entire civilizations. Earth's fleet had been designed specifically to defend against this powerful enemy. Dr. Lyra read aloud from one of the reports. The Sithar are described as a formidable force. They possess technology that can dismantle entire planets, and their tactics are ruthless. The report suggests that Earth's fleet was prepared for a full-scale invasion. Captain Zorak's eyes widened. So Earth wasn't just protecting itself from a distant threat. It was facing a war of survival. Dr. Lyra continued, her voice tense. Yes, and it looks like the Sithar were closing in on Earth. The final messages from Earth's commanders mention a massive fleet of Sithar ships approaching. The human fleet was their last defense, and it seems they knew they might not survive. As the crew delved further into the data, they found more about the Sithar's capabilities. The alien invaders used powerful energy weapons and had the ability to create devastating weapons of mass destruction. The reports indicated that humanity had prepared the fleet with advanced countermeasures, but the situation had become desperate. Captain Zorak frowned. If the Sithar were such a threat, what happened to them? Why haven't we heard of them before now? Dr. Lyra shook her head. That's another mystery. The records don't indicate what happened after the initial threat. It's possible the Sithar were repelled, or perhaps they turned their attention elsewhere. The crew knew they had uncovered a crucial piece of Earth's history, but the implications were daunting. The Sithar's threat was real, and the ancient fleet had been a last bastion of defense against them. The fact that the fleet was still active suggested that the threat was still on their minds. As the Eclipse floated among the ancient ships, the crew faced a new reality. They had learned about Earth's dangerous past, but they also realized that understanding this history was just the beginning. The ancient danger was not only a chapter in humanity's history, but a potential threat that could still impact the galaxy. The crew of the Eclipse knew they had to be cautious. The discovery of the Sithar's threat was a reminder of the dangers that lay beyond their current knowledge. Their mission had taken a new turn, and they were now at the forefront of uncovering a cosmic threat that had been lurking in the shadows for millennia. The discovery of Earth's lost history had left the crew of the Eclipse with a heavy sense of responsibility. The ancient fleet, once a powerful shield against an unknown danger, was now fully awake and vigilant. The data revealed that the threat humanity had faced was still a looming mystery, and it was unclear if it was still active. Dr. Lyra and Captain Zorak gathered in the command center, their faces drawn with concern. The holographic displays around them showed the full extent of the fleet's capabilities and its extensive defense protocols. They had learned a great deal, but they were now faced with a critical decision: what to do next. Captain Zorak leaned over the central console, his eyes scanning the data. "We have a choice. We can either leave and report our findings to the galactic authorities, or we can attempt to find out more about this ancient danger." The fleet's AI has made it clear that it's still on high alert. Dr. Lyra nodded, her expression thoughtful. "The information we've uncovered is fascinating, but it's also troubling. If the threat humanity faced is still out there, it could be a danger to us as well. We need to decide if we should investigate further or leave this to be handled by others." The crew had been working around the clock, analyzing every bit of data from the fleet. The record suggested that the threat was something formidable, a force capable of causing widespread destruction. However, the exact nature of the threat remained unclear. The fleet's AI had been programmed to defend Earth, but it didn't provide specific details about what they were protecting against. Dr. Lyra turned to Captain Zorak, her voice steady but filled with resolve. "We need to weigh the risks. If the threat is still out there, it's our responsibility to understand it and warn others if necessary. But if we push too hard, we might provoke the fleet or trigger old defense mechanisms." Captain Zorak rubbed his chin deep in thought. "On the other hand, if we leave now, we might never get another chance to uncover the full story. The galaxy deserves to know if there's a danger out there that could affect us all." The decision was not an easy one. The Eclipse crew had formed a bond with the ancient fleet, and the potential danger was real. They needed to choose between the safety of returning to their base and the challenge of uncovering the truth about the ancient threat. The crew members gathered in the briefing room, each reflecting on the choices before them. Some were eager to delve deeper, driven by curiosity and the desire to protect others. Others were apprehensive, worried about the risks and potential consequences. After a tense discussion, Captain Zorak made his decision. "We will proceed with caution. We'll continue to investigate, but we'll do so in a way that minimizes risks. We'll try to learn more about the threat without provoking the fleet. If things become too dangerous, we'll pull back and report our findings." Dr. Lyra agreed, her face determined. "We owe it to ourselves and to the galaxy to understand what happened here. We'll take every precaution and ensure that we don't endanger ourselves or the fleet." The crew prepared for the next phase of their mission. They updated their protocols and adjusted their approach to gather more information while respecting the ancient fleet's defenses. The Eclipse would continue to explore, aiming to uncover the full extent of the ancient danger without crossing any lines. As the Eclipse maneuvered deeper into the mystery, the ancient fleet remained a silent sentinel, its presence a reminder of the risks and responsibilities that lay ahead. The crew knew that their decision would shape not only their future, but potentially the safety of the galaxy itself. The Eclipse glided cautiously through the vast expanse of space, its crew vigilant as they explored the ancient human fleet. The mission was to understand the mysterious threat that had once driven humanity to such extremes. Despite their careful approach, a sense of unease hung in the air. Dr. Lyra and her team were analyzing new data from the fleet's sensors. The information they were gathering was revealing more about the nature of the ancient threat, but remained incomplete. They needed to proceed with utmost caution to avoid triggering any unintended responses from the fleet. Captain Zorak watched over the operation from the command center, his gaze fixed on the holographic displays. The fleet's defensive systems had remained inactive since their last communication, but the crew remained on high alert. Any sudden movements could provoke a reaction. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the ship. Dr. Lyra's face went pale as she saw the alert on her screen. "Captain, we're detecting a massive energy buildup in one of the ships. It looks like one of the fleet's weapons systems is powering up." Captain Zorak's eyes widened. "What? Are they targeting us?" The crew scrambled to assess the situation. The ancient fleet's AI had been cooperative so far, but the unexpected weapon activation was a serious threat. The Eclipse was in the line of fire, and if the weapon fired, the consequences could be catastrophic. Dr. Lyra worked frantically to establish a communication link with the fleet's AI. "We need to warn them that we mean no harm and that we are not a threat." The AI's voice crackled through the comms, distorted but still clear. "Unauthorized activation detected. Weapon systems in active mode. Identify your purpose immediately or face consequences." Dr. Lyra's voice was urgent and pleading. This is Dr. Lyra from the Eclipse. We are peaceful explorers studying your fleet and the threat you once faced. We have no hostile intentions. Please stand down your weapon systems. The weapon's energy build-up continued to increase, and the crew watched in mounting fear as the ship's weapon systems aligned. The energy readings were off the charts, and it was clear that the weapon, if fired, would cause immense damage. Captain Zorak took a deep breath. Prepare for evasive maneuvers. We need to be ready in case they fire. Everyone, brace for impact! The Eclipse started to maneuver quickly, trying to avoid the weapon's projected path. The crew worked in unison, their hands moving swiftly over controls, adjusting their trajectory to minimize the risk. Just as the weapon seemed poised to fire, the AI's voice came through again, this time with a note of hesitation. Warning, ceasefire protocol initiated. Reassessing threat level. Dr. Lyra's heart raced as she heard the change in tone. Captain, the AI is initiating a ceasefire protocol. We may have a chance to defuse this situation. The energy buildup in the weapon began to dissipate, and the ship's defensive systems powered down. The immediate threat had been averted, but the crew knew they had narrowly escaped a disaster. Captain Zorak let out a sigh of relief. That was too close. We need to be more careful. This fleet is incredibly sensitive, and any misstep could trigger a severe reaction. Dr. Lyra nodded, her face still pale. We'll need to review our communication protocols and make sure we're not inadvertently causing any alarms. We have to find a way to reassure the fleet that we're not a threat. As the Eclipse continued its cautious exploration, the crew remained on edge. The weapon's activation had been a stark reminder of the dangers they faced. The ancient fleet was a powerful guardian, and understanding its past required navigating its present threats with great care. The mission had taken a dangerous turn, but the crew was determined to uncover the truth about the ancient danger while avoiding further conflicts. The future of their exploration depended on their ability to manage these risks and maintain a delicate balance with the powerful fleet they were studying. The Eclipse drifted silently in the dark void of space, its crew tense after the recent near disaster with the ancient fleet's weapon systems. The mission to uncover the truth about the long-lost threat was becoming increasingly perilous. Dr. Lyra and Captain Zorak were determined to continue, but they knew they had to be extremely cautious. Suddenly, alarms blared across the ship once more. The crew looked up in alarm as the ship's sensors detected multiple energy signatures rapidly approaching. Captain Zorak's face hardened with concern. Brace for impact! We have incoming ships! Dr. Lyra quickly assessed the situation on her console. The fleet's AI has launched several defensive ships. They're preparing to engage us. The crew scrambled to their stations. The Eclipse's shields flared to life as the defensive ships of the ancient fleet closed in. The battle was about to begin, and the crew needed to act fast to avoid destruction. Captain Zorak's voice rang out with authority. Deploy countermeasures and prepare for evasive maneuvers. We need to avoid getting caught in their crossfire! The Eclipse veered sharply, its engines roaring as it tried to dodge the incoming fire. Energy beams and missiles from the ancient ships streaked through space, narrowly missing their target. The crew worked furiously to manage the ship's defenses, activating energy shields and launching countermeasures to intercept the enemy fire. Dr. Lyra shouted over the chaos, her voice urgent. We need to communicate with the fleet. Tell them we are not a threat. We're here to help! She sent a series of distress signals and peace messages, hoping to reach the fleet's AI amidst the battle. The ancient ship's weapons continued to fire, their precision and power showing just how formidable the ancient fleet was. The Eclipse took a hit, shuddering from the impact. The ship's hull groaned as the shields absorbed most of the damage, but the crew was jolted. The ship's systems began to show signs of strain. Damage report! Captain Zorak demanded, his eyes scanning the control panels. Minor hull breach in the aft section, reported the chief engineer. Shields are holding, but we're losing power in some systems. Dr. Lyra continued her attempts to communicate with the fleet's AI, her frustration growing. We have to get through to them! If they don't stop firing, we might not make it. Just as the battle seemed to reach a critical point, the fleet's AI finally responded. The voice, once harsh and unyielding, now carried a note of confusion. Cease fire! The threat assessment has been revised. The Eclipse is not the enemy. The attacking ships slowed their fire, their weapons retracting as they hovered cautiously around the Eclipse. The crew breathed a collective sigh of relief, but the battle was far from over. The fleet's AI was now assessing the situation and trying to understand why their defensive systems had been triggered. Captain Zorak took a deep breath, his face a mask of determination. We need to calm the situation and explain our intentions. Let's establish a dialogue and work towards a peaceful resolution. Dr. Lyra nodded, working quickly to establish a secure communication link with the fleet's AI. The crew monitored the situation closely, prepared for any further reactions from the ancient fleet. The Eclipse floated in the midst of the ancient warships, the immediate threat of battle fading. The crew had survived the intense confrontation, but the real challenge now lay in negotiating peace and gaining the fleet's trust. The ancient danger was still out there, and the crew of the Eclipse had to navigate the complex legacy of Earth's defenses to uncover the full truth. As the battle subsided, the crew knew that their journey was far from over. They had faced a fierce challenge, but the path to understanding and cooperation with the ancient fleet was now more crucial than ever. The battle with the ancient fleet had left the Eclipse battered, but intact. As the ship floated amidst the towering warships of the long-lost fleet, the crew was on edge. They had survived the fight, but the true test lay ahead, forging a new alliance with these powerful ancient guardians. Dr. Lyra and Captain Zorak were in the command center, reviewing the damage and planning their next steps. The ship's hull had been compromised in several places, but the crew had managed to stabilize most of the critical systems. The fleet's AI had finally opened a channel for communication, offering a chance to explain their intentions and seek a resolution. "Captain, the fleet's AI has agreed to a meeting," Dr. Lyra announced, her voice filled with cautious optimism. "This could be our chance to resolve this conflict and learn more about the ancient threat." Captain Zorak nodded, his expression serious. "Prepare for the meeting. We need to make a good impression and show that we are allies, not enemies." The Eclipse moved slowly toward the largest of the ancient warships, a colossal vessel that appeared to be the command ship of the fleet. It was a majestic sight with its massive hull and intricate design, a relic of a bygone era. As the ship docked, a holographic transmission appeared before the crew. The fleet's AI, now appearing more composed, greeted them. "Welcome, Eclipse. I apologize for the misunderstanding earlier. We will now discuss your presence and intentions." Captain Zorak stepped forward, his tone respectful yet firm. "We are explorers from a distant galaxy. Our mission was to investigate the ancient threat that once faced Earth. We did not intend to provoke the fleet, but to understand and possibly prevent any similar dangers in our time." The fleet's AI responded, its voice calm and measured. "We understand your intentions now. The threat you sought is still classified and has been dormant for millennia. Our primary function is to guard against this ancient danger." Dr. Lyra interjected with determination. "We've uncovered some of your history, but the exact nature of the threat remains unclear. We need to understand it better to ensure that it doesn't pose a risk to the galaxy today." The AI seemed to consider this. The threat was a powerful force that nearly destroyed humanity. We were tasked with defending Earth and preventing its return. We have been on high alert for millennia, monitoring for any signs of resurgence. Captain Zorak saw an opportunity. If we can assist in monitoring or even in repelling this threat, it would be a mutual benefit. We have advanced technologies and resources that could aid in this effort. The AI considered the proposal. Such an alliance could be valuable. We would need to evaluate your capabilities and ensure that your intentions align with our mission. The meeting continued with detailed discussions about possible cooperation. The Eclipse's crew presented their technological assets and their knowledge of the galaxy. In return, the ancient fleet offered to share more about their advanced systems and defensive strategies. As the talks progressed, a sense of collaboration began to emerge. The ancient fleet's commanders, once distrustful, started to see the value in working together. The AI acknowledged the potential of this new alliance, recognizing that their combined efforts could be more effective in guarding against any future threats.